Hey there, dudes and dudettes. I feel that most videos lately seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on the really good characters in the game. Characters like, obviously, Z Broly. Vegito's been a very strong DLC character. A lot of legacy characters are really good right now, like Android 21, Kid Buu. Krillin is really good at the moment. Piccolo, Gotenks, Teen Gohan. But because I'm one of those people that firmly believes that pretty much every character in this game can compete up to a pretty high level and is honestly very playable. I think every character in this game is playable at a good level. Obviously, there's always going to be a lowest tier of the game, but in this game, like, the weakest characters are probably like a B or a B-, and the best characters are like an A+ or an S, right? Which is a lot better than other games where you have characters that feel like they just can't win no matter what you do. Part of that's due to the system mechanics in Dragon Ball FighterZ being very strong, and part of that's due to the characters just generally not being as bad as a lot of people think. So today I want to shine a light on some of those bottom tier characters and some of the really cool things they can do to open you up. Because I really do think pretty much every character in this game is capable of mixing you, even if they've been branded by the community as a no-mix character. I'm going to do my best to shotgun through these as fast as possible because I don't want to make this about any one character. I want to give you guys some ideas of what you could do with some of these characters, and a lot of these ideas are going to apply to other characters as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is something that a lot of top-tier characters can do, but you might not know that a lot of lower tier characters can do them as well. What I'm talking about is something like this, where you use an EX move that puts you in the air, and before you land, you either air dash for the high or you land and go low. So in Kid Buu's case, he'd do EX ball, he'd call an assist, and then he'd land and go low, or he would air dash and go high. And one example is that Zamasu can do this too. So he can just EX slash, as this quarter circle forward H, and if you hit Ki Blast when you do this, he cancels into his flight. And then you can unfly by tapping back and Ki Blast again. So back plus Ki Blast gets you out of it. And then before you land, you just air dash and go high, or you land and go low. And that's pretty much the idea. So you're just going to EX slash, call your assist at the same time, and air dash and go high, or you're going to land and go low. And if you do this fast enough, it should all be a true string. Oh, by the way, you can do this mid-screen. It's just going to be a little bit more challenging probably, because if you don't move yourself forward and you unfly, you might be too far away for the low to hit. I'm going to move my camera actually, because a lot of these mix-ups are actually going to take place on the ground here, and I don't want to block any of them. But you can remedy this by just kind of wiggling a little bit forward before you unfly, and you could probably get a little ambiguous with what side you're going to end up on. And of course, you could air dash for the overhead. This is one thing that is going to take a little bit of practice, just because getting the muscle memory to fly and then unfly and then still air dash afterwards is going to be a little weird for people who are just picking it up, but it's not too bad. And let's say you're picking an assist that is a little bit too low block stun to make this all a true string. So instead of focusing on high-low, what you can do instead if you're mid-screen is just focus on left-right. Because as long as there's a little tiny gap, then cross-up protection no longer works. And that means we can choose between whether we cross over them or we just stay on the same side. So something like Videl's assist is pretty low block stun and would allow this kind of thing. What about if you're in the corner? You can still do this kind of mix-up in the corner if you want, but it's kind of a waste of resources. I think in the corner, all you really got to do is hit super dash plus your assist, and that puts you in this airborne state where you can now air dash and go high or land and go low. So when you get them in the corner, just be sure to frame trap a lot so that they're discouraged from trying to mash, and then go for your up close super dash plus assist and land and go low, or air dash and go high. And pretty much every character that has a low 2L or even a really fast 2M can do this kind of thing. So Krillin, for example, could do this with a crouch medium instead of a crouch light, just because his medium is that fast. It's still going to be a real mix-up. And yes, this is a mix-up that's going to work with most characters who have a low 2L, so try it out. Videl can do it. This will work with pretty much every assist. And left-right mix-up is also very good with these characters. So as long as you're not point blank, these are going to reach. So if you take like a baby step backwards, you can now cross up. His JM's okay, but you see it kind of kicks upwards, so it's not going to hit as fast. You got to fall farther before it's going to reach. But what is really fast is crossing up with his JL. So his jump light is a really fast cross up, and it just kind of works. Characters like Jiren who don't actually have super good mix are going to be pretty reliant on left-right mix-up because high-low isn't their forte, and his command grab, it will hit sometimes, but you have to condition people to make it work. So you're going to be pretty focused on these cross-ups. And luckily for Jiren, even if you get to a point where people are reacting to your cross-ups pretty consistently, he's a character that actually has a really good same-side options. So if someone is standing up and blocking the other direction in response to you jumping because they believe you're going to air dash and cross up, all you really got to do is stay same side with this move. So look like you're going to cross up, but don't actually cross up. So yeah, just hit him with that. It'll combo into super dash. You can use an assist to extend if you have any, and go to town. Have a good time with that. Videl is a good example of a character that does a little bit of everything pretty well when it comes to opening you up. She does all the universal stuff well. She has a pretty good cross up with her instant air dash JM, and you can pick it up pretty easily by just comboing into her medium afterwards. She is a lot more damaging solo than she used to be. I don't know if this is exactly optimal. I know you can get like multiple loops if you're good, but she does actually get pretty good damage all on her own now and still maintains a knockdown most of the time. So the good thing about that is that you can spend your resources, like your assists, in order to get the hit and still convert pretty decently. And of course, she has the high-low mix in the corner that we talked about with Super Dash, with pretty much every assist in the game. People who play Videl get hung up on her unique mix-up options a lot of the time, and I think that's kind of a mistake, because the universal stuff, I think she does very solidly and very well. So start with that as your base, and obviously don't forget to Dragon Rush, don't forget to occasionally 6M overhead. And once you've used all of those, then work in her unique options. Because people see stuff like her command grab, they're like, ah, bummer, it doesn't hit when they crouch. This is useless. This is a pointless move. But if you can realize that like, oh wait, I'm making people stand up a lot when my character goes into the air because I'm using air dash mix up a lot, because I'm using my 6M overhead a lot. Well, if you can make people recognize that these are things they have to worry about, then now you know they're going to stand up when they see you in the air, and that's when you go for this kind of mix-up. And this is especially nice since she gets a full combo if she holds the button when she goes to the grab. You can just pick it up with whatever you want. I don't know exactly what's optimal again, but it looks like she gets loops. Just remember not to use this at a point in your string where overheads aren't possible or aren't scary. Let's say I go through an entire block string where I use pretty much all my options. At this point, overhead is not going to be a real threat for the opponent. What it is a real threat for the opponent is, let's say I use a 6M and I call an assist, and now I'm really plus. And it's really common at this point to go for another air dash mix-up, go for another high. So instead of doing that, let's go for command grab, in that same situation where you would expect an overhead or expect an instant air dash or something like that. And these kinds of situations where you're really plus and you have a lot of options available, like after you called an assist, is the exact time that you would want to go for a cross-up as well. Because this also looks like an instant air dash mix-up. She's getting up off the ground in a situation where she's plus. It makes you want to stand up. But maybe you won't block the cross-up. Maybe you're going to stand up into this command grab that only hits you when you're standing. And if you can make people focus on this kind of stuff, now Dragon Rush is going to work. Now 6M overhead is going to work. Because maybe people are going to get frustrated with this and call this out as a guess with an anti-air, but this kind of thing loses to 6M overheads because these are technically grounded moves, not airborne moves. And this kind of thing would just lose to a Dragon Rush. This kind of thing would lose to a frame trap. So case in point, when your character has a universal mix-up option, same thing's going to apply to Jiren here too. Use it at a point where you have other options available. Don't go through your entire string as a Jiren player and then command grab somebody, because then it's too obvious, it's too easy to jump out of, it's too easy to react to. Instead, put yourself in a position where you're plus, where you have a bunch of options like Dragon Rush, like instant air dash, and in that situation, look like you're going to do something like that and command grab instead. Even Jiren's crappy command grab will hit people if you overwhelm them with other options. It won't work all the time, and it shouldn't be the foundation of your mix-up. It shouldn't be the thing that you focus on every time you get in, but it'll start to work if you focus on those other things first. Here's a fun one. That's cool. I love this mix-up. This is really kind of a complicated one to explain. And I have a whole video explaining this that I will link somewhere up there and down below. But Goku Black always has access to left-right mix-up as long as you learn to super jump install his block string. So as long as your very first attack in your string, you super jump at the same time as you hit the button. You see I tap down and up at the same time, but I never jumped because I canceled it with the light, right? If you do it wrong, you will occasionally jump around and you'll feel kind of stupid. But if you get it right where you can tap up and hit the button at the same exact time right after you tap down, it means that now when you fly, you're like still in the super jump state, even though you never really followed through with the super jump earlier. And this means that now you can float over the opponent just like you could when you're super jumping. Because when you're super jumping, you can float backwards by holding up and back. You can float forwards by holding up and forwards. You can fast fall by holding down. And you have access to this kind of mix-up as long as you can do that super jump install earlier in the video. So if this is confusing and I'm blowing through this too quick in this video, again, I'm going to have a link to the full video where I talked about specifically this and just this down below. But the really cool thing about this kind of mix-up, if you can get used to it, is that it's going to work even when your opponent's back is to the corner. Other characters have really good left-right mix-up, like Vegito, for example. His left-right mix-up is amazing. Cross-up H is really fast and really good and really rewarding, and you can just stay same side by doing the sword. You look like you're going to cross up with the H, but instead, you just run at them, jump, and do the sword. They react to you jumping, they block the other direction, and then the sword hits them same side. And this is good reward too. Even if they block it, you can get away with a kick after. You could frame trap with a super dash. You could cancel into his Ki Blast special and call an assist and take your turn. As long as you mix up your options, it's going to be really hard for them to chase you even if they guess correctly. But this kind of mix up, even though it's really good, you can't always do it when their back is to the corner. So in order to get better mix up, a lot of Vegito players will actually end their combos mid-screen with 4 bars like this. I'm going to omit the full combo because 1, I don't know exactly what's optimal, and 2, I don't want to waste your time. So they'll end mid-screen, level 3, they'll spend an extra bar for Vanish to get next to them, and now this puts them in a position where they can cross up or go same side really fast as the opponent wakes up, and that's really, really good. But characters like Goku Black don't have to worry about that as long as you can get this down. And I'm not going to say this is easy. It's actually pretty hard to do consistently, but there are some players that do this kind of stuff pretty often. And in Goku Black's case, you're not going to really have to worry about that because you can just knock them down in the corner, and if you can make them block a jump in or something, at that point you know they're blocking. All you got to do is start your string with this down and then up plus jab really fast, and you'll have access to the cross-ups. Just remember, you actually have to hold up in the direction you want to float. You can't just float by holding that direction. You got to actually be holding up if you want to float. And don't forget to go same side once in a while as well, because people who you play with regularly will start to just instinctively block the other way. And heck, why not? Don't forget to just like Dragon Rush sometimes too. The more stuff you can pack into a mix-up situation, the more successful all those options are going to be, the more likely you're going to fry their brain. It's going to be a good time. Oh yeah, and while I got you guys here, if you have any questions about what could I be doing to open someone up with a certain character, or just any character-specific questions, I do try to stream pretty regularly on weekdays, and I have no problems answering questions while I'm live. I love chatting and talking with you guys, and it really makes the streams more enjoyable, so I'll have a link to that down below. I probably just won't be streaming the week that this video goes up in particular, because I'm going to be on vacation for a week visiting family. Okay, so one final thing I wanted to go over that isn't specific to like really weak characters. A lot of strong characters have this kind of stuff too, but more characters have this than you'd expect. There are a lot of times where someone's health is really low, like let's say like under 1,000 health, like let's say they have like 800 health, 700 health, something like this. And personally, to me, I actually don't see too much of a difference usually between having very low health and having like a medium amount of health, like maybe like half of a health bar. Because usually once someone gets below half, you're going to be able to KO them in the next hit. You might have to spend some resources, but once they get to that dangerous point, if they don't swap out that character, you're probably going to be able to convert in a way that kills that character. But the one time it does really matter to me when someone's health is really low is if they have an unreactable option, even if it doesn't convert very well. Because a lot of characters have this extra overhead they could go for. It's usually jump down heavy. So maybe you call an assist and you go for a mix-up, you go for this overhead. And at this point, people expect you to land, they expect you to start going low, or maybe they're going to look for Dragon Rush because you're plus. Maybe they're going to like block low for a second and then look for another air dash because it's pretty common to go for more than one. But what you can do instead is just go for this kind of mix-up. And with a lot of characters, this is actually plus on block. So if we turn on the info display settings, in Janemba's case, it's not his jump down heavy, that's this. Instead, with him, it's just his regular jump heavy. So you just jump on them with a medium, cancel into this, and you're good to go. And in Janemba's case, he's not actually a bad character, by the way. I think Janemba's quite strong. In Janemba's case, he actually has more options in this kind of situation than most other characters because he could land in Dragon Rush, he could land and go low, he has a pretty fast command grab. His light grab is pretty good. It's like kind of hard to deal with consistently. It's not quite as good as Broly's, but it's pretty good here too. And then you add this into the mix and you're going to be able to get that little bit of extra damage you want in order to make something happen. And a cool thing about this kind of thing is if this is all you need to do to get that little bit of extra damage you need, I say go for it. And if it doesn't work out, most of the time you are actually plus as the character doing this, which is really, really nice. So in Janemba's case, it looks like he's usually around +2. In Frieza's case, he's going to be like +2 as well. Zamasu seems like he's around +1 or 2 as well. And a bunch of characters have this kind of thing. Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta has it with his jump down heavy. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta has it with his flip kick. It's honestly pretty common. Once again, this is just another thing that you can pile on top of a plus unblock situation like a jump in. And it's one more thing that they have to look for. The more things you can give people to look for, the better all of your other options are going to be. And personally, I think improving at a fighting game and improving your offense in this way is very beneficial because it will benefit you in every fighting game you play in the future. Every fighting game has the concept of overloading someone's mental stack so that you can make all your other options better and mix them up better. It's not always about just getting in their head, it's just about presenting them with so many options that they can't possibly look for everything at once. But if you get like really fixated on going for 50-50s with your characters, that's really going to be like a crutch for you. It's good to do 50-50s if you have them available, don't get me wrong. Like, you should go for the best option you have when you have it, usually. But what happens if your character gets nerfed? What happens if that goes away? What if the reward for it gets weakened? What if you decide to play a different character or play a different game? Use the good stuff when you have it, but learning to use a little bit of everything to really work to open someone up, that's going to be a skill that will benefit you forever in the future. So if you took anything away from this video, I hope it's that you need to put your mix-ups in positions where you have a lot of different options available. If you're a grappler, don't go through your entire block string before you use your special mix-up tool. Use it at a spot where you have other stuff available, like a cross-up or an extra overhead or a dragon rush. And on top of all of that, you do have your command grab or whatever your unique mix-up tool is. All right, so I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would really help me out. And let me know what you guys want to learn down below. I'm happy to take some of your ideas and see what you guys are interested in improving at. We'll be covering more Dragon Ball FighterZ and Guilty Gear Strive here on the channel soon, so look forward to that. Thanks for watching.